we'll go ahead and get rolling then.
Okay, we're on. It's recording.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. I don't need to click record or anything on my end?
No.
Nope, I see the light is on now. Okay, great. Okay, now I previously was saying that I will be sharing my screen a little bit into this presentation, and I will have captions. There may not be any sound, so if one of you, one of the interpreters will be speaking, and I'll be using in the interpreters as well as the subtitles. So if someone is blind or doesn't know what we're talking about, that will be an option. If Heather or anyone sees the captions and on your end also wants to speak those into your microphone, that'd be great. One is 4 minutes long and another is 1 minute long, so not too long at all, okay? So I just want you to be prepared. Okay? Anyone want to volunteer to speak those subtitles into the microphone for us?
Hey Jet, this is Heather. I might have to step out just for a minute and take a call from the doctor's office, so I don't want to commit to it and then have it be interrupted. Is anybody else able to do it?
This is Brittany. I'll go ahead and volunteer.
And I could do it too. Oh. Sorry.
So Brittany volunteered, and then Lonnie can back up if needed. Go ahead, Jet. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Brittany. That sounds wonderful. Okay, and one more thing. I don't see that Pamela is on here. Is Pamela here? Because I'm looking around the screen and I don't see her, yet she was there earlier, so I'm just wanting to make sure that she's there. If yes, great. If not, we won't worry about it. So Pamela, are you on the call?
This is Brittany. Pamela is on the call. We're having an issue because Pamela was supposed to be the host for this meeting. That would allow her to share things and record, and so the whole kind of host thing threw things off. If you're able to
post
on the screen, we have like 7 Dell Macintosh centers right now. I don't know if that's going to cause an issue. However, Pamela is one of the Dell Macintosh centers. I see her, and she is on.
Okay. So we probably need her to claim the host unless she's listed as a host, if you can ask
Well,
her.
I just need to know, as long as we can both sign, that'll be fine. I don't want to be stuck doing the whole thing by myself. Okay. Well, I'm a little bit uncertain how to start. Now, it might be a challenge to share the screen. I am looking at 3 screens currently. I've got my share screen. I have the screen with the interpreters as well as Zoom pulled up. So I'm going to try my best to get acclimated with having the 3 of them up. If I am struggling, just bear with me. Now, hello everyone. Hello. Well, first question I have for you and that I'm going to ask, well, before I ask that question, this topic is deaf sensitivity training, and the goal and point of this is communicating with deaf individuals, especially deaf consumers. I'm noticing more and more staff, our staff, has been interacting with deaf consumers, and there's several things now that have grown to be, you know, we need to start talking about what to do if you're communicating with a deaf person. Now, my question for all of you is, any of you have met with a deaf person and interacted with one? Yes or no? Raise your hand. So, or you can say yes, or let me hear how many of you say yes.
Yes.
Yes. In
Yeah.
person, in person.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so about 7, 8,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Now, deaf culture and how we communicate with deaf individuals, deaf to deaf, tends to be a little different. So hearing culture is different too, and you need to know how to get a deaf person's attention. First of all, you need to know you can wave, not hi, just a wave like you're calling to them, a full-handed open wave going from the wrist or from the arm, just to wave and get their attention. They'll look and they will usually respond back with a wave to know that they're looking at you. That's one way.
Okay.
Or you can approach them if you are behind that person and they don't see you. You can gently tap them on the shoulder with an open hand. Don't caress them. Don't squeeze their shoulder. Just a nice tap with all 4 fingers. Nothing too hard, no slapping. You don't want a hard hand, but just something gentle. It sometimes seems odd for hearing people. Hearing people typically don't like to be touched, but in deaf culture, that's not the case. It does not bother deaf people for you to gently tap them on their shoulder if they don't see you, if they're engrossed in something, or just not looking your way. So that's another option. Deaf to deaf typically is the same, an open hand wave or a tap on the shoulder, but we also tap on tables. So we will hit the table if you're sitting near each other and the other person isn't too far away from you. You can gently tap. You can stomp on the floor. That's another option. We can feel the vibration on the floor, and you can get someone's attention that way. And if that is typically, though, deaf to deaf, I wouldn't suggest that you do that, stomping on the floor. Another option is turning lights on and off. That will get a deaf person's attention. While in school, for example, deaf students have often used the lights, and teachers use that to get their attention as well. By flickering the lights on and off, you can tell a whole room that you need their attention, so that's another way. Now remember, never, ever throw an item at a deaf person if you need their attention. It doesn't matter if it's a paper, something lightweight that won't hurt. It's incredibly rude. If you absolutely must throw something, don't hit them, throw it on the floor over in their direction, and they will see that someone's trying to get their attention, but do not hit them with an item, especially a heavy item. Preferably don't throw anything at all at the deaf person. Another way of calling out to a deaf person, if they're especially far away and a wave is not successful, if there's a person next to them, you can try to get that person's attention and ask them to tap the person you're looking for on the shoulder for you. Excuse me one moment, I had an alert pop up on my computer. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, you can call to the person that is near the individual you are trying to get the attention of, and so you don't have to go running far away and tap them yourself. If there's a person near them, you can ask that person to tap the person that you're wanting their attention. Now, if I were sitting, for example, and there was someone like a third party in between the person and I that we're trying to communicate, say for instance, the interpreter was sitting in between us and I couldn't see you but I wanted to call you, I can ask that person to then turn around and get your attention and they can move out of the way. Now, be careful, because if 2 deaf people are communicating or hearing an individual that can sign, maybe an interpreter, either way, if 2 people are communicating in sign language, try not to interrupt. That's very rude. Trying to talk to that person. So please just be respectful of the fact that we're chatting, we're communicating, we're signing, and don't be afraid. Just walk through like normal, carry on like you would any other day, and walk by. It's rude to slow down and act awkward about it and be scared, and do not duck, or try to go around or stand there and wait for the conversation to finish, or ask if those people are finished communicating. So just go ahead and walk through like normal. You can say excuse me as you pass, that's fine, but do not wait for that communication to be finished, and do not duck down under the signs. Now, remember that most deaf people can't read lips, most of them. According to data and research that's documented, about 30% can read lips, but honestly, in my opinion, 30%, I'm not so sure about that. I believe it to be less, maybe about 15, 20% seems more realistic. I've not seen up to 30% able to read lips in my observations over the years. That seems like an awfully high number, but most deaf individuals cannot read lips, nor can they speak at all. So if you are speaking, just try to avoid that. Don't talk to the deaf person. If they say, oh, it's okay, I can speak, or you can speak, go ahead and speak to them, but just be very careful with that. You have to remember that some deaf people assume that they can speak, think that they're expert at it and verbally communicating, but then once you hear them, you might think to yourself they really can't. And that deaf person's trying their best, but it's not the best option always, and it can result in a lot of miscommunication and misunderstandings, which we'd want to avoid. So make sure that when you're speaking to a deaf person or communicating with them, you ask that question first and don't assume that either party can speak. There's a growing number of deaf people that have cochlear implants, either one or both side. And if you see that, you might assume, oh, okay, that means I can talk to them. But that's not always the case. It's not. Some you can, but the issue you might run into is they may have had some therapies, etc., and have improved speech and hearing, but it's not a full cure. Many of them tend to be young kids, and if they do get them when they're young, later over the years, maybe 18, they can use their cochlear implants, but once you get them when you're older, 18 to 25 years old, it's harder to acclimate to that new device, so they may not be able to understand clearly, hear clearly, or speak clearly. So that pretty much covers it, how to get the attention of a deaf person, how to communicate with them. And deaf people have different ways of communication. They use different communication modes. And it's not always ASL. There are different signed languages, such as C, Signed Exact English. I'm not going to get too much in depth on that, but it's a little different than ASL. PSE, Pidgin Sign English, is a bit different. Total Communication, Oral Language with Sign. Some use oral method only, speaking, and if they do, you can typically talk with them. But remember not to talk at your normal pace and as fluently as you would. Slow down, enunciate, move your lips more. And if they're great at reading lips, that's great. I remember I worked with Nick before. It was a man that I had been around with, and not many had interacted with him, but he was close to hearing, very close to hearing, and well, so he thought. But and he was a rare exception, but there are very few. Now, are there any questions in related to communicating with deaf people? Anything that I've covered so far? Pamela, is there anything you want to add? Pamela, you can go ahead.
This is Brittany. Lonnie is helping out with, so Lonnie is one of the people helping with the host. So Lonnie will go ahead and switch Pamela over. Just give her a second. Trying to figure out which.
This is the interpreter. I can see her.
Okay, there we go.
Pamela, so I just want to add with the lip reading, it kind of depends on the individual. Each deaf individual is a little bit different. That 30%, that's an average. And understand that depends on that deaf person and how skilled they are at delivering, or how, if they can hear a little bit or not hear at all, or that affects their skills as well. That increases the percentage depending on, each individual deaf person. Second things, for a hearing person, it kind of depends on how they speak. If they speak clear, if they have a mustache that kind of covers their lips, then it's harder. That percentage would obviously drop down quite a bit because it's harder to see their mouth. Also their head, if they're looking away from us or if they're moving their head a lot as they're talking or trying to write on a board while they're talking, that would affect that lip reading and the ability to see their lips and read their words. So that's going to affect it as well. So that 30% is affected by a lot of things, if they're looking away or looking around. So they would definitely have to sit face to face and look directly at each other, even for that 30% to read lips. Also, each culture is different. Each deaf person, each hearing person is different. Some don't have eye contact. They don't believe in eye contact. But in sign language, the tendency is definitely eye contact. It means that a hearing person, if you're looking down and speaking or looking around, looking all over while you're talking, the deaf person is going to have to try and chase your mouth and chase your lips to read your lips. So you'd want to make sure that you kept eye contact with the deaf person as well if they were reading lips. So it is in person to make sure you listen and also focus on that person and show that respect when you're communicating, so that if they do read lips, they can read them clearly. Also, let me think. Yeah, you had mentioned about the cochlears. I know. I just want to be clear and emphasize that with the cochlears, I know we'll talk more about it later, but for communication in sign language, that the cochlear improves that ability. With SCE and English, SIMCOM, it's not really a language. It's just a tool that they use to kind of support the sign language. It's a bridge to ASL. It's a bridge from ASL to English. So it's not really a language. So understand that we need to remember that we only need to ask a deaf person, what is your preferred communication style, your communication comfort? What are you comfortable with? Reading lips, speaking for yourselves, signing ASL, and we'll discuss more later, obviously, but yeah, that's all for now. Just want to make sure that added that in.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the rest of you? Anything at all?
This is Ivan. I think it was really information what Jed said about when two deaf people are having a conversation to just cross by, because I always tend to go around or kind of duck, but now I know, so that was really good information. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, yes. If there are two people having individual conversation and there is space behind one of those people, it is fine to go around. You don't have to go through. But if there's not enough space between the person and the wall, for instance, just walk through.
Got you.
And if I may add, Pamela had described this a little bit, which is correct. If a person is reading lips, it's very important to maintain an eye contact and face each other completely. You might not, and don't try to talk near a deaf person's ear. I can speak a little bit myself, so people assume that I can hear a little bit, and they will get near my ear to try to talk, or they'll get closer to my face. But I need someone to look directly at me and make eye contact. So thank you, Pamela, for expanding and mentioning that. Now, another thing, that aside, oh, Pamela, I see your hand up.
Pamela has her hand up. Mm-hmm. So just real quick, real quick story. When you go through the middle of a deaf person, deaf and hearing when they're communicating, and you just walk through, For me, I think that's interesting. It's an interesting point. It is different in hearing culture and deaf culture, because Tennessee hearing, they'll say excuse me or something to that effect, or the deaf don't need that. You don't need to say excuse me, just go ahead and walk on through. I know it's different culture, but go ahead and walk on through. If you tap on them and say excuse me, then we feel like that was rude. You just interrupt our conversation. We feel you're being rude, you're interrupting us. Our conversation, you just interrupted. We're trying to talk and you just stopped us to say, excuse me, just walk on through. Don't do anything, just walk on through, because we don't want to have to stop the conversation and go back to it. So unlike the hearing culture, there's one to add to that. It's just our normal deaf culture, our tendency, just walk on through. Yeah, don't stop and say, excuse me, just walk on through. We will understand, because I know that's opposite in the hearing and deaf culture. So just want to make that quick point.
Thank you.
Yes, and I want to add on that point, as Pamela just said, in DMC, there are few individuals that still stand next to us while we're speaking or while we're signing with each other and stop and wait. And please do not. Sorry, just making sure that I'm looking at the right screen right now. Just 1 second. Okay, so I noticed that a few individuals still do the stop and wait, and when Pamela and I are conversing, and someone will stand there a bit awkwardly. Just go ahead and walk on through. Please do not stand there and wait. You don't have to go fast. You don't have to slow down. Just walk normally. And I know we're running out of time, so let's set that aside for now. And now we're going to talk about VRS, Video Relay Service, and VRI, Video Remote Interpreting. I'm wondering, how many of you have had any experience speaking with a deaf person over VRS, the Video Relay Service? Okay, I see Brittany. Yes, anyone else? How many of you? Just one? Just Brittany?
Diane has. I know I've talked with Jed over it.
Okay, so 2, 3.
I think
Okay.
where Jet made a phone call to me and we had an interpreter. Yes. Or a reception, the same thing. Yes.
Time out, real quick. Pamela, saying time out. You might forget the interpreter name because the interpreter followed so smooth, so you may not have known who was speaking. So
It was
yeah, it's
long.
very important. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's real important to tell us who's speaking first. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Now VRS stands for Video Relay Service. And it's the same as you're experiencing now. You're hearing the interpreter's voice. That's VRS, exactly that, Video Relay Service. And many times and often, anytime I want to call anyone, not only you, but in general, out in the world, people tend to be confused about the fact that there's an interpreter on the line and that they're hearing the interpreter's voice and think they're talking to the interpreter, when really the interpreter is mediating the two of us between the two of us in a conversation. It's the same as in person, exact same thing as in person. There's an interpreter there voicing while I sign, and there's a person who's speaking to me in English and the interpreter is signing to me. Exact same thing, except it's just outside of the normal realm of what we're used to. So that is Video Relay Service, VRS, exactly like we're doing now. Now I want to explain effective communication using VRS. Never say, oh, please tell him, et cetera, or please tell her, or ask him. Avoid that. Just speak like you are talking directly to your deaf caller. Now, sometimes the interpreter may misunderstand something, and sometimes the hearing person may misunderstood a little bit, and I'm always willing to clarify. So when you're speaking with a deaf consumer, suppose you were speaking with a deaf consumer, and you're going on speaking, and the consumer might be overwhelmed. So maybe it's not simple, easy, and clear. Make sure you are keeping it clear, and if the deaf person is not understanding or has miscommunication or is overwhelmed, for Pamela and I, we can typically understand everything that's going on, but out in the world, there are other deaf people that may not. And so while you're communicating, while you're speaking, make sure to clarify with them that they are understanding and that communication is effective. Don't just assume they're understanding everything, because there are some deaf people that have limited language, limited understanding, or limited communication. Now, I noticed in my experience, not all deaf and hearing, but there are some hearing people that typically finish speaking and then hang up the phone immediately. And deaf people do feel like that's rude. It's in deaf culture, it's a long goodbye. Are you finished? Are you done talking? Am I bad? Anything else? And then you hang up, which I understand hearing culture is different. And you just finish what you have to say bye-bye, hang up. But in deaf culture, that's considered rude. Okay. I want to share a link. Hopefully it works here. It's about 4 minutes, I think. So give me one moment. And Brittany, are you ready to speak those subtitles? I just want to make sure you're ready, and I'm about to share the screen.
Yes, I'm ready, and I will do my best.
Okay, just one more moment for me, please. Okay, let's hope this works. Okay, I am ready to play the video. It's about 4 minutes, so here we go. Brittany, you said you're ready? Are you ready to speak those subtitles?
Yes.
And Jet, make it bigger. You might want to, there you go.
Hi, my name is Christina. I'm 9.5, preschool for the deaf, and I'm in 5th grade. There are 4 of us. My family is all deaf. My parents are deaf. My mom is deaf. My brother is deaf too. My brother and I both go to the same school. My grandparents and most of my family are actually hearing, but the 4 of us are deaf. And we use video relay service to communicate. How did you communicate before video relay service and video phones? Before video phones, when I was about 5, I remember seeing my dad use the TTY webcam on his computer. The picture was really fuzzy, and my dad would have to do his best to try and keep signing, but we couldn't see the interpreter very well. My parents were mostly having to email at the time, but now that we have VRS, it's perfect. We can just sign, just like hearing people can use the phones to quickly communicate. With video relay, we can do the same thing. How do you now use VRS and video phones to communicate? I use video relay to call my grandparents if it's their birthdays. I'm not going to type an email or use a pager, So I'll use the interpreter through video relay to contact a hearing person on the phone like my grandma, and we kind back and forth. Sometimes if I'm at home and I forget something or I realize I forgot my homework, I'll call a friend through VRS. Or if I get a new pet, I can hold up my pet and show the person on the video phone. He's holding up a bird. Well, I have a bird, some reptiles, different kinds of lizards, and a tortoise. We all have different kinds of animals. It would be hard to name them all. His name is Savas. He's referring to the bird. If my friends haven't seen him before, I'll hold him up to the camera and show them, and they can see what he looks like. How has VRS improved communication for you? If I didn't have VRS and I was calling deaf people, I'd probably be fine. But if I wanted to talk with my grandparents, I don't know how I would talk with them. I could maybe communicate with deaf people, but my grandparents don't have a video phone. They use a telephone, and they don't sign very well, so I wouldn't have much communication with them. And I don't use email a lot, but it improves my communication because I can talk with hearing people. Showing the interpreters on the screen and the person calling, giving an example of what VRS looks like for the deaf person. Thanks, Sorensen, for making the improvement so that deaf people can talk to others through VRS. Sorensen, VRS.
Okay, great. Just one second here. Okay. Now, I know time is running out. I'm going to try to hurry. VRI, have any of you ever heard of that before? Raise your hand or say yes if you've heard of VRI. Not VRS, VRI. Anyone? Okay, Brittany, of course. Of course, Brittany. But no one else, that's fine. I will explain that a little bit as time allows. Now, VRI is different. VRI stands for Video Remote Interpreting. And that is used to save money most of the time. Normally, in-person interpreters, like you've seen in meetings before coronavirus happened, they are very expensive. Their typical rate for using a live sign language interpreter for 2 hours, which is typically their minimum of 2 hours, and up, and continuously on by the hour, and then in 15-minute increments. If the interpreter is there for 15 minutes, for example, but they were scheduled for 2 hours, we're still charged the 2 hours, which may seem silly, but that's just how it's billed. So doctors typically like VRI. VRI tends to be big in the medical field. And if, for example, my boss and I are sitting and he can't sign, we're together, a VRI, video remote interpreter, can then be on a screen and be interpreting for us while we're in the same room. So what the boss said in English, the video remote interpreter would be signing to me and vice versa. So that's one other thing. And VRI is billed per minute. They're by the minute. It's not cheap, but if you're having a 10 or 15-minute meeting, it's a lot cheaper than having a live in-person interpreter come in.
Hey, it's Brittany. Um, for the sake of time, I think it's better to avoid the details of how VRI is billed, and I believe it's now Pamela's turn. She has something she needs to cover as well. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead, Pamela.
Okay. And then Pamela, you are now the host, so you should be able to make your screen bigger than everyone else. Thanks.
Oh, I don't know how to I don't know how to do that. Hang on 1 second.
Okay, she can either get to that by, there should be the participants section. She could click
Okay, cool.
the 3 little dots, and there's like more options that come up, and she's going to spotlight her video. Take it away from Jet. I can't do it any longer because I made her the host.
Okay, so I have a team now working with the team interpreter. So I'm just saying I'm going to follow that. So we'll see how this goes. But anyway, so okay, so if you're ready.
We can't see Pamela though.
You can't, I'm sorry, this is the interpreter.
We can't see Pamela because Jet's video is spotlighted. So she can make me host again, so I can change it if she can't figure it out. I'm trying to walk through, but it's hard because I don't know exactly.
I don't know. Hang on 1 second.
Okay, she pushes. There should be a
So
tool
she sent,
which has a little 3 little dots which say more. If she clicks that, there should be options.
Well, I did. I'm through an interpreter, so I don't think you'd be able to. So anyway, yeah, I can go ahead and just do it through the interpreter. If you're ready, the interpreter ready. Yeah, I'm ready. The interpreter's ready. So did you want to see her?
Yes.
She's saying, just wanted to check.
Okay, we could disregard it. Let's see. Okay. I got it. You're good. I reclaimed the host.
Okay, so ready to speak? Here we go. So I'm going to discuss 2 different parts. I'm going to simplify them a little bit. 1 second. So I want to discuss about, first of all, the different ways, the different methods of using technology. So first of all, JUT, so we'd already discussed the VRI and the VRS. So that we discussed, that's technology, of course, naturally. So we use that to communicate through the deaf, and that's one way a deaf person communicates. Now, a third way I'm going to add is a new one that just recently started spreading out, probably a month ago, I guess, and it's called Wavelo, W-A-V-E-L-L-O. So that's pretty nice. It's something fairly new, and the reason they added that is so I can feel closer and connected to my family. If I'm a deaf person, I want to talk to my family. It allows me to see them and associate with them with the interpreter on screen. So I'll be on the screen, the person I'm talking to, my family or whoever, and the interpreter will all 3 be on the screen. It's new. They just added Wavelo. Oh man, maybe a month ago. I couldn't see the person before that. I would communicate through the phone, through an interpreter, I can see them. But now it gives me the opportunity, I can actually see and get close with my family. So that's one way that with family or friends, it's a service that they've offered to the deaf through so and so. So that's a great opportunity for us. I mean, we'll explain more a little later, but VI video, the video that allows us to see. And I want to explain a little bit about Wavelo, what it looks like, how it works, anything we can to kind of briefly, before time runs out. I may even, try to show you afterwards a little bit, show you an example afterwards, but we can talk more later if we need to. So Wavelo, so I'm getting ready to share a screen with you. 1 second. And the interpreter is going to swap to the team. It will be a female voice for Pamela, FYI.
Hold on 1 second.
Hey, Pamela. Pamela, can you stop the video? Can you stop it for a sec? Thank you. This is Brittany.
Yes.
This is Brittany. Just for accessibility, I can read the captions again, but it started before I was ready. So can you start it over and I'll go ahead and read the captions as the video plays. Thank you.
Sure.
So this is a—
Are you ready?
Yes. This is a video demonstrating Wavelo. Are you ready? I'm ready. They're showing the app on the screen. There's a deaf person, interpreter, and a hearing person. Did you see that? I saw the interpreter and the hearing person at the same time. Cool. You can call in touch on your VP, computer, and mobile device. When I call through Sorensen Relay, I can see the hearing caller. Do you want it? Sorensen has a new app called Wavelo. It's designed for your hearing friends and family. I'll explain how they can get the new app and how you can both get connected on the app. How do you get Wavelo set up? There are two options. One, on your Sorensen N-Touch mobile app, click on Settings. You will see a blue icon. Invite a hearing friend to Wavelo. Click on the blue button. You will have a few options. For example, you can send a text or an email. They will see your message with a link. The website will introduce Wavelo, and to download, they can pick from two icons, the Apple App Store or Google Play for Android. Click one to download the app. It's showing a screen with the hearing person downloading Wavelo. That's one way to download the app. Or you can tell them to download it by going to their App Store or Google Play and searching for Wavelo to download the app. Person searching for Wavelo on their phone. After the app is installed, the hearing person can open the app and register their phone number. Demonstrating the person registering their phone number. After they register their phone number, they will receive a confirmation code to type in. Wavelo will ask if they can send you a notification. Select Allow, so the next time you invite them to connect on Wavelo, they will see the notification to click to connect. So an example of the code and registering the code. All set. Now the hearing person is ready to use Wave Elo, and I'll show you what it looks like. Did you see a blue Wave Elo icon? Be sure you can see it. That means the hearing person has already downloaded and registered to use Wave Elo. If you did not see the icon, please tell them to register their phone number. Are you ready to start Wave Elo? Perfect. I will send you a Wave Elo call. Make sure your mobile phone speaker is on. Turn the speaker on. It's on. I'm ready. Now I know their speaker is on. I will now send them an invitation to connect on Wave Elo. Incoming video. It's good to see you. You too. That's Wave Elo. Do you want the best way to connect, to see their facial expressions and emotions while interacting? Go tell your hearing friends and family now. Sorensen.
Sorry, I'm trying to pin it for myself. One moment. Can you see me? Perfect. That's a relief. Okay, so okay. All right, I'm back. Can everybody see me now? Can everybody see me? Is everyone able to see me?
Yes.
Yes.
I want to make
Yes.
sure. Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure. So the reason that I did show you this video of how Wave Elo works, if you missed something or you forgot what steps are first or second or any of that, it's fine. I will send you all a link in the email. One of the advantages of this for us service providers is because most of our customers have an LE lack of English skills and proficiency, so their LEB lack of skills and proficiency in it. Most of them, our consumers, are very limited in their understanding or cognitive ability in that. And so most of us really depend on using VRS and being able to have that person-to-person video for a deaf person to be able to contact with another deaf person. We really heavily rely on that instead of email. Most of us are not able to fully express ourselves through email. So for an example, for a person who maybe speaks Spanish, their skills in English probably aren't going to be as good. So that's kind of the same idea for someone who is deaf, so has a very language deprivation, has had a severe language deprivation growing up, which causes their understanding to be delayed or behind. So an advantage of using Wave Elo is that they're able to use that and be able to use visual aids through their communication. So I am going to go ahead and discuss a little bit of that briefly. Other advantages with using Wave Elo, being able to keep that up and continuing to use the signing aspect. You're able to see each other and are able to learn new signs through using the Wave Elo app. Also being able to, sharing staff to staff might not be as just an advantage, but it is also an advantage for you guys to be able to communicate with other staff as well using Wavelo. The Wavelo app is downloadable. You're able to get it for both Android and iPhone products. It does work on both. It is at no cost. It is free, which is very nice. Maybe ML would be able to help you guys download it. If you have a work phone, would be able to download it on there as well. Currently, I did want to discuss about the visual aids. In terms of Wavelo, the advantages of being able to use that. As many deaf people don't know, like when you're asking for a specific something like the CalFresh design, you're needing your ID, your social security card. Hold on one second, please. Hold on one moment. We're having some technical difficulties. One moment. The interpreter, the picture is frozen. Hold on one second. So, yeah, it typically gets it screwed up every once in a while. Sorry. Okay, so bear with the interpreter because we are looking at them at a very huge disadvantage. She's now sideways.
And now she's upside down.
And upside down now. Oh. Okay, I can't see myself, but that's fine. Okay, so it is an advantage because you're able to, with using Wavelo with your customers, you're able to use visual aids. You're able to take a picture and be like, hey, do you have this? Your social security number, your card, what it looks like. You're able to show that. Birth certificate, what it looks like. You're able to show them through that. Passports. You're able to show them what it looks like through using that app. You're able to pull it up in front of the video and be able to show them through Wavelo, which is really cool because deaf people, again, rely heavily on visual cues for communication. And so that will help with their understanding of what you're wanting to get from them. And being able to use different kinds of communication. On the video, if you're wanting to send them an email with a list, you're able to use the video, you're able to pull from YouTube and you can send them. That would help them to understand as well. If their English reading skills are not that good, you're able to put in a video, where you're able to put in those links to be able to send it through email so that they're able to understand what you're asking or what you're looking for, what information you're really wanting.
Hey, Pamela. It's Brittany. It's Brittany. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to stop you. It's 4:30. I know we had some technical difficulties. So I'm sorry you guys didn't get your full time to present. I think maybe a part 2 is in our future to make sure that everyone has the information. I wanted to just take a chance to thank you, Pamela, and thank you, Jet, for putting this together for everyone. But we do have some staff that end their day at 4:30, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Yes. And I don't know if Larry has anything to add at this point, but I think we are done for today. Look forward to a part 2. Okay, well, hearing nothing.
Okay, yeah, really sorry. One moment, please.
Okay. I would say those of you that need to clock out at 4:30, go ahead and end your day. If there are folks that don't need to end their day right away, you're welcome to hang out for a couple minutes. But otherwise, if you need to go, thank you so much for your time and attention today. Have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Larry, I can see you, but I don't hear you. I don't know if you were trying to say something. This is Brittany. I made an executive decision, so hopefully it was okay. Trying to be respectful of everyone's time.